cannot take the risk of him becoming a patriarch. He consorts with harlots on the streets. I know it is hard for you to believe that he can be a Judas, but it's true, Your Holiness.
I'm not even sure about his good heart.
You think that you can come here and pretend to be holy?
I'm starting to think that you're not human.
You seem to be the real deal. No wonder they don't like you.
We will demand Patriarch Sophrony to be removed and place you in his position.
Get out.
I understand why the people of Egypt love you. We had you here for a short time and you've performed miracles.
You're a holy man, Your Grace. I lost my eyesight due to illness when I was very little. There is so much light in your presence.
We feel that you don't exercise enough authority.
A healthy balance between kindness and authority is best.
Where is the evidence of my crime? An accusation that condemns me to a moral death.
If it had been done to me, what has been done to you, I would not go to church anymore.
Holy Man of God, will you please pray for me?
The position of power is like a cancer. It eats at you, slowly.
I wish I would have faith.
Father, why don't you say something?
It's not enough that you are trying to persuade everyone in here to become a priest. Now you're grooming nuns from here too? What are you doing with these women?
Why are you doing this?
Refrain from coming here!
My body may be withering away, but my soul is not.
Hello, and welcome to the 15th Annual Los Angeles Greek Film Festival panel and Q&A series. My name is Laurel Yanalos, and I am the events coordinator. It is always a privilege to see and talk to the film creators and talent directly to understand what drives them to create these films that affect and inspire us. Man of God is a story that does both beautifully. Before we get started, let me remind you that this is a live webinar and you are able to ask your questions, which we will hope to get to at the second half of the event. Simply type in your question in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. For those of you watching us on Facebook Live, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, you can find the Zoom link right on Facebook or go to www.lagff.org by clicking the Events tab on the homepage and then the Man of God tab. Quickly register and you will receive a response with the link in the email. Without further delay, I am delighted to introduce you to Leah Bazanelas, screenwriter and producer known for her feminist comedy series, Sorry Not Sorry, and her feature film, Safer at Home, which is available now in theaters and digitally worldwide. She is currently packaging her next film to shoot in Greece. Leah is a board member of LAGFF and a recent recipient of the 40 Under 40 award from the Greek American Foundation for her professional and philanthropic contributions to the community. Welcome, Leah.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Laurel. I am extremely honored and humbled to be part of the 15th Annual LA Greek Film Festival and moderate this panel for the highly anticipated, beautifully shot feature narrative, Man of God. This film is on the life of Saint Nectarios of Aegina, which premiered in our festival last night and will exclusively play once again this evening in a sold-out screening. Man of God is one of our festival highlights and scored the Audience Award at the Moscow International Film Festival. Here with me is our filmmaker and several members of the cast and crew, who I'll go ahead and introduce now. First, we have Yelena Popovich, writer, director, and producer. Alexandros Potter, producer. Aris Servetalis, actor who plays Nectarios. Christos Loulis, actor who plays Christos, the school president. And we're also going to welcome Aris Katapodis, who's the LAGFF artistic and festival director, who will help with translations because no one has confidence in my Greek language skills, including me. So for everyone here, we're going to keep this very audience friendly. Think of it as like an in-depth but casual conversation about all things related to this film. And I'm going to go ahead and start things off with Yelena. Yelena, first of all, congratulations on your gorgeous work. I had the privilege of seeing this film a little while back, and I am so impressed by the authenticity and integrity in filmmaking, especially when dealing with faith-based subject matter and miracles, and especially during a time when the world feels particularly chaotic. So let's go ahead and start at the beginning. What inspired you to make a film about a saint, and more specifically, Saint Nectarios, and did your own faith impact the process?
Hello, thank you for the introduction. What inspired me? Actually, yes, my faith has played a part in this, but I didn't necessarily plan on making a film about any particular saint until I read a book about Saint Nectarios, which was in 2012. And I was extremely moved by his story. And I felt basically that story spoke to me on a very personal level, on many different levels, 2 different levels. And I felt that it would be a good story to tell and share. And I felt that I dared to approach that subject because I felt because I had some kind of understanding on a personal level that I was able to potentially communicate some of it on the big screen. And I hope I was able to do it. That's how, and that was in 2012 that whole process started.
Wow. So altogether, this was, I guess you're looking at 9-10 years for the entire thing. Yeah, to come together. That's incredible. And yes, it absolutely translates on screen. Speaking for myself, who loved the film, and we had, such rave reviews coming out of last night's screening, and it's a testament to your work because tonight's screening is sold out. So it absolutely translates. So I'm curious, with any narrative, it's so difficult to find the voice of the character. And obviously you didn't have, a real life reference, current day to be able to refer to. So what was the research process like in order of like, honing his voice and getting it right for screen?
Well, maybe this goes back to, apart from obviously as a director and a human being, you would put yourself and your personal experience onto what you're doing naturally. I've studied in Playhouse West, which is it was a training for acting and directing. And I basically approached the story on a human level. I wasn't, yes, he is a saint, but we cannot dramatize saintlyhood or miracles or things like that. The story has to resonate on a human level. And this is really what attracted me to his story, because he, like all of us, was a human being who had a life that was challenging, that life that was full of suffering and justice. And I felt that that's where people would identify with him and feel for him. And even, of course, I've done a lot of research, but I always stuck to that human element of a story, because that's, again, I believe that was the only way I could transmit something onto the screen that was valuable and truthful. And I really, especially with a subject like this, I feel that I could easily fall into the trap of, trying to, again, what I said, dramatize saintlyhood or some miracles, which is really not real. The reality is something else. And therefore, with everything that I've done with the cast, which I was extremely lucky with, basically, I casted everyone truthfully, the people that I believe really were right for the part. The way we shot it with our director of photography, he was an amazing DP, Panayotis Vasilakis. We decided that we were either going to use the different ratio. It was 1.66, which is unusual. That's that was usually used for the old movies. And the reason we decided to go with that was because we didn't want to focus on the world around us so much. Yes, this was a period piece, but again, we wanted to focus on the character and on their feelings and what they were going through. And there was a way of bringing the audience closer to their experience. So therefore, we really try to focus on that truth that everybody has to find for themselves while watching the film. And I think that was the best way to present this story and shoot it almost like if it's happening nowadays, because you're not, yes, you're truthful to the period piece, but you're focusing more on what's happening on an emotional life of a character. So that was the main focus. So I hope that
Yes, it absolutely translated. I mean, again, the authenticity is amazing. And also, you know, as an audience member, you feel like you're in the film. You feel like you're just in it and everything is unfolding around you. You know, you really had a way of gripping us in. And we'll talk more about it in a minute, but you mentioned your cinematographer, the DP. I mean, the way it is lit, the way it is shot, I mean, it's just extraordinary lighting. I mean, and I know, in which you'll talk about too, the composer, it's just like everyone who came together for this film was like so top notch. It's really the real deal, beautiful filmmaking. So that's really exciting. So I want to, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry. I just want to say that without my actors and everybody, I mean, Aris, I'm so grateful that Aris was playing Saint Nectarius, because he's just was perfect for this part. And apart from being a fantastic actor, he really has an aura to play this part without saying much. So this was a crucial element of making this movie.
I'm sure. And we're going to talk all about that.
And all of them, Christos Loulis did an incredible job. Everybody was amazing. So I'm very grateful to everyone.
Well, it certainly translates on screen, and we're going to talk to each and every one of these actors. But before we do, just circling back to the screenwriting process, what was the process like for you, and where did you start, and how long did it take you, and how many drafts, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, there's I think an interesting story about that. Apart from the mechanical aspect of it, where you kind of go from learning about the story and from reading different biographies. I was listening also to a lot of you know, people talking about him, the different kind of research for a while, and then narrowing it out what the story is really about. Apart from a story about him, I think what I kind of narrowed it down to, and that's why I made a movie that starts from his exile from Alexandria until the end of his life, is basically that one of the premises, the movie always has few premises, but one of the premises, for me at least, when I was starting to write the story, was that the desire for power is what destroys our society, human soul, and it lurks in all different aspects of society, including in places where it definitely shouldn't be the priority. So he was a victim of it, you know, because he was somebody who was a true man of God. And this is something that he evoked a lot of things that were not pleasant, just by trying to do what he thought was right and fighting for what he believed until his last breath. So that was the main premise of the story. So then, of course, you read the biographies. Then I wrote the outline. As you know, as a script writer, the outline is really the skeleton of a script. So once I had that outline, where I had an idea where the story, how this should sort of look like, I went to Egina. It was 2013. I came to Athens. It was my first time in Greece, and I went to Egina. And that's when I visited the monastery of Saint Nectarius, and I took my outline and I sort of asked Saint Nectarius in my own way if this is his will, if this is something that would be good to do, you know, if he can help me make it happen. So I simply then. A year later, I had a draft of a story. I continue writing. You know how it is. You go to one draft, another draft. You know, try to, you know, minimize things as much as possible so you're not all over the place. Yeah. So you kind of try to shade off things. Yeah, exactly. To be as you know, stay to what you're really trying to say. And in 2014, I came back to Greece again for the summer, and I was lucky. My husband. He's half Greek, so his mother is here, you know, and so we were able to come for vacation. So I went to Egina again, and with a script this time. And I I did the same thing. I asked Saint Nectarius, I have a script right now, so maybe, you know, I'm plugging away with my wish, my desire, but ultimately it's God's will that has to be done. And I did the same thing in 2015 when I had even a better version of the script. Again, I was in Egina, and that was the year that I actually revealed, apart from my closest friends or people that knew me on a personal level, that I was in the United States. I went to Arizona. It was a monastery of St. Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the Yaron Diaphragm was at the time, was with us here in this world. And Abbot Paisius, and I told him that I wanted to make the film about Saint Nectarius.
Wow.
And I was, you know, kind of feeling it, and things were sort of moving in the right direction. And I asked them for their blessing, and they've given me a blessing. And the only thing they told me was, there's two things they told me. They said, well, the first one thing, that we have one request, and that was, if you can, please use Orthodox Christian actor to play the lead role, to play Saint Nectarius. And they said, they don't say much, you know, they said, and if it's God's will, it's going to happen. so that was as simple as that. And in end of 2015, I moved to Europe, and it wasn't related to the film. It was something entirely else, some personal things. And it wasn't the most pleasant personal time of my life. I thought it was going to be wonderful, and it turned out to be really difficult. And I ended up staying in Europe. And in 2016, June 2016, I came to Greece, not knowing exactly, am I going to go back to the US or not? But somewhere in the back of my mind, because some things were evolving with the film, I said to myself, well, maybe all of this, what I was going through in my mind, I was saying, well, who knows, maybe I'm going through all of this, but I'm going to be here, and maybe I can get this movie off the ground. Maybe I have to be in Greece instead of being in the US, and then, which was my original kind of idea, like being in the US, finishing, getting everything, packaging the movie, and then coming to Greece to shoot it. So I ended up actually moving to Greece without planning about anything, and that's what that's how it started. And then we started getting, we got Kostas Lambropoulos decided to help us produce the movie. I met with Aris, and he was happy to play the part, and one thing after another, it started to happen. And so that's I know it's kind of a long
No, it was great. I mean,
process, but that's how sort of things fell into place.
Started to come together. Okay, so a couple of questions. Did you share the drafts with anyone along the way, or did the church want to see the drafts, or was it something?
I shared the draft with people in the church. I did. This was important, but I shared it with some people that I thought that, apart from being in the church, could also give me, also would be able to see it on a different level. But they were part of the church, the monks and the monastery, and they actually end up helping a lot to make this, to turn this into reality. And
Wow.
they were supportive of this from the beginning. And then, of course, I got a blessing from the monastery in Egina, from the Yaron de Sa Timothea, which was before we kind of put things together to start shooting. That was extremely helpful. They gave us a blessing. The two scenes that were shot were in the actual monastery. When Saint Nectarius, played by Aris Saratalis, when he's in his room, where the scene with Kostas, that's actual bed in the room where Saint Nectarius lived.
Wow. Oh, that's
Yes.
incredible. So for our audience,
And also the monastery of Chryseleontissa, the icon that he prays in front of, the icon of Mother of God, that's the original icon where he actually went and prayed to.
wow. Oh, that's amazing. I mean, again, talk about authenticity and filmmaking.
Exactly.
for our audience, you know, making a film is so difficult. There are just millions and millions and millions of steps, and you take a step forward and you take 3 steps back. And then add to that, getting the support of the church and telling a very honest story with, you know, sensitive subject matter that you absolutely want to get right. I mean, it's really, you added this whole other layer of complexity and difficulty, which you did quite brilliantly. So, you know, kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
So I think, you know, because we have these actors with us, I want to hear from you first, how you went about identifying the actors, and then we'll pivot to the actors so they can tell us a little bit about, you know, their process and method and whatnot. But if you could walk us through how, you know, was it a typical casting situation where you got a list of actors, or did you always have someone in your mind of who you wanted to play each role?
Well, I think I could, I can confidently say that including the casting process in many ways was very interesting, not to say miraculous, but you know, it was, I would say that some of the things were really meant to be, because I met Aris through a monastery, and at the time I did not know he was going to play the part, and then later he, you know, even though when I met him and the second time we met, I was almost sure that he was the right person, and I was very lucky that actually he was my number one choice for the role. And again, we met very organically, very naturally. It wasn't like something that was super pre-planned or it was so difficult to manifest. It was almost like very casual and simple, and it was really good energy behind it. And the rest of the roles, I mean, I had a casting director, a very good casting director. His name is Makis Gaziz, and he did an amazing job. He basically, you know, invited everybody, and I actually, there was one role which was kind of pending at the end. It was the role of Christos, that I wasn't sure who. We were maybe even thinking, you know, how these things are. Is it going to be an American guy or English guy, or was it going to be a Greek actor? And actually, and I'm really glad that Christos had played the part. That at the end, I saw his work, and I thought he would be really good for the part. And I think also when we met, it was also very simple, good energy. He liked the script, and he felt right for the role, and I'm really glad that worked out. And everybody else on the same level, and also coming from the background of an actor, studying at the group theater, you know, I'm sort of an actress director, and I understand that work on a deep level. So I feel like I work well with actors, which I feel that made a lot of people comfortable working with me. And also Alexander Petrov, that was really a miraculous. I mean, I just told my casting director that, oh, if you're gonna cast somebody from Russia, I think he's obviously a fantastic actor. He's well known in Russia. Russia is a big territory for our film. And it was just incredible that just we got hold of him so easily, and he got on board very quickly. And with Mickey Rourke, you know, that was just my choice for a little while. I thought of that role. And if we were going to have an American actor that had some presence already on the international scene, I thought he was the right person to play that particular role, because I thought that somebody who had faith, but maybe had a lot of pain and a lot of suffering in his life, and had a depth to play that part, that he would be the right person for the part. And again, I was able to eventually get hold of him, and he was happy to do the part. So this is that's all I can say. And I had a wonderful time with everyone. That's all.
So great. I mean, even your choice of the word miracle, right? Even with the casting, it felt like a miracle. So many things were just coming together, which ties into the overall theme of this project. Alexandros, is there anything you'd like to add about the casting process? You know, we'll go into the earlier production stages too, but just curious, you know, how did you come at it, and were you guys conferring on everything and whatnot?
It was a process. It wasn't an easy process. That's what I'll say. and you know, it took time. It took time. It was, I think, it was an organic process ultimately. So yeah, but you know, I think it just sort of fell into place, and you know, we're very happy about the end result.
Absolutely. And like Yelena was saying, you know, she had a rapport established with these actors. And I think that also really translates to screen. You're very much an actor's director. You can tell there's chemistry. And even in some of the previous interviews that I was watching, you know, you could just tell there's a real bond between you and all the actors. So it's really, really impressive, and it definitely comes through on screen. So with that, why don't we turn to some of our actors and talk to them about, you know, their experience in this. And so first question will be for Aris. So other Ari, get ready to translate. What made you want to be part of this film? And, you know, did you feel a personal connection to the character? And how did you prepare for the role?
Χαίρετε, Λία. Καταρχάς ξαφνιάστηκα. Ήταν η πρόταση της Γελένα να κάνει μια τέτοια ταινία είναι ξαφνιαστική και γενναία ταυτόχρονα.
Well, in the beginning, I was surprised by Yelena's idea to have this film, but I was happily surprised.
Όταν, έτσι, όπως είπε και η Γελένα, η αρχική πρόθεση δεν ήταν να κάνω εγώ τον Άγιο Νεκτάριο, να κάνω εγώ τον κύριο χαρακτήρα, ήταν να συμμετέχω στην ταινία. Όταν μπήκε στο μυαλό της αυτή η διαδικασία να συμμετέχω σαν ο κύριος χαρακτήρας της ταινίας, η αλήθεια είναι ότι μπήκα σε κάποια διλήμματα εσωτερικά, σκεπτόμενος αν είναι σωστό ή όχι, αν μπορώ ή αν μπορεί να συμβεί κάτι τέτοιο.
So the original intent was not for me to be in the Saint Nectarios role, but to be part of the film. So when the discussion turned around to me becoming Saint Nectarios, then I had a lot of questions and inner thoughts about that.
Ναι. Κυρίως σε σχέση με μένα, αν είναι σωστό να γίνει μια ταινία για τον Άγιο Νεκτάριο. Επομένως, έτσι κι αλλιώς αυτή η περίοδο που γυρίστηκε και όλες η ταινία είχε πάρα πολλά εμπόδια. Επομένως, ήταν και για μένα μια απάντηση αν θα ήταν σωστό να γίνει αυτή η ταινία.
So I had questions in the beginning if we even should do a film about Saint Nectarios to begin with, and also during the time that the film was produced and filmed, there were so many other disturbances and issues and problems that I had my doubts whether this film should even take place.
Οπότε όταν είδα ότι σιγά σιγά τα εμπόδια λυνόντουσαν με έναν κάποιο τρόπο, συνειδητοποιούσα και εγώ μέσα μου ότι είναι αυτό που λέμε, ο Άγιος θέλει να γίνει η ταινία, είναι Θεού θέλοντος να μπούμε σε αυτή τη διαδικασία. Επομένως, όταν αυτό ισχυροποιήθηκε μέσα μου, 100% πήγα προς αυτή την κατεύθυνση να μελετήσω και με τη βοήθεια της Γελένας αυτή την ιστορία του Αγίου Νεκταρίου.
But when subsequently I started seeing in front of me that all the problems were slowly subsiding or getting out of the way, then I realized myself that it was God's will to have this film made. And then I decided to get into that film 100%, and with Yelena's help and assistance, I was able to do that and participate as Saint Nectarios' role.
Oh, that's amazing. So we have questions coming in actually from the audience that is related to this subject. So from Anastasia, she wants to know what were the considerations for accurately portraying the inner struggles of Saint Nectarios, which sort of goes hand in hand with how did you prepare for this role and to really get into this character?
Εδώ θα χρειαστώ...
Χρειάζεται, λέει, να εξηγήσουμε για την εσωτερική πάλι του Αγίου Νεκταρίου και πώς μπόρεσες εσύ να το μεταδώσεις αυτό?
Νομίζω ότι με τέτοιους χαρακτήρες δεν ξέρω, δεν ήξερα πώς να τους πλαισιώσεις. Το μόνο που μπήκα σε αυτή τη διαδικασία είναι ότι βοηθούσε η εξάντληση. Δηλαδή να έμπαινε σε μια διαδικασία, ήταν ένας άνθρωπος ο οποίος γρυπνούσε προσευχόμενος για τους άλλους, θυσίαζε δηλαδή προσωπικό χρόνο για τους άλλους, προσευχόμενος στο Θεό. Επομένως, ήταν σε μια άλλη κατάσταση. Τώρα αυτό πώς μπορείς να το... Δεν μπορείς να νομίζω εγώ τουλάχιστον δεν μπορώ να παίξω κάτι τέτοιο. Επομένως, ο δρόμος ήταν μέσω μιας σωματικής εξάντλησης. Δηλαδή, ήδη στο γύρισμα προσπαθούσα να ήμουν ήδη εξαντλημένος, αλλά και ταυτόχρονα κάπως λειτουργικός. Αυτή ήταν μία...
Obviously, in these cases, nobody understands about the inner struggle of Saint Nectarius, and my approach was to use exhaustion, physical exhaustion, and sacrifice, and personal sacrifice, which were the mantra, the motto of Saint Nectarius, and to actually go into the filming, into the shooting of a specific shot, being physically exhausted but still functional. Exhausted on one hand, but still functional, so I'll be able to give what I need to do and have the personal sacrifice in mind.
Επίσης, σε αυτή την ταινία φαίνεται ότι ένας άνθρωπος, εν δυνάμει όλοι οι άνθρωποι είμαστε σε αυτή τη διαδικασία της αγιοσύνης. Απλά είναι ένα αγώνισμα. Σε αυτό το αγώνισμα ο Νεκτάριος, ο Άγιος Νεκτάριος, θυσίαζε τον εαυτό του. Είχε αυτή τη θυσιαστική νοοτροπία. Επομένως, υπήρχε και μια ταπεινότητα σε όλο αυτό που έκανε, γιατί ήταν μέρος αυτού του αγωνίσματος. Το στάτους του, επομένως, ήταν ενός ανθρώπου που ήταν πιο κάτω από όλους. Με ένα πολύ χαρακτηριστικό παράδειγμα, αυτή τη σκηνή που είναι στο σχολείο και αντί να τιμωρήσει το παιδί, τιμωρεί τον ίδιο του τον εαυτό. Ήταν κάτι που μύθιζε να κάνει.
So the approach has been that this is really an exercise, a race, an exercise to meet and become that. And it has to be approached with humility above everything. And I guess to emulate what Saint Nectarius' main characteristics were. So becoming an internal race, internal agonas, and also humility. And characteristically, it was the scene in where Saint Nectarius decides to punish himself for what the students have done instead of them. So that idea of sacrifice and humility together.
Great. And we have a question actually coming in from the audience, from an audience member named Sam, who along these lines wants to know, were there any spiritual lessons that you learned from playing this role?
Πνευματικά μαθήματα που μπορεί να απέκτησες παίζοντας αυτό το ρόλο.
Τα πνευματικά μαθήματα είναι η ορθόδοξη γυμναστική, που είναι οι μετάνοιες, και μια συνεχόμενη προσπάθεια να συνδεθείς με το Θεό. Αυτό που με συγκίνησε και με μετατόπισε εσωτερικά ήταν το γεγονός ότι ήρθα σε επαφή με έναν άνθρωπο ο οποίος έκανε πέρα το δικό του θέλημα και εμπιστεύτηκε τελείως τη ζωή του στον Θεό. Αυτό είναι για μένα πίστη. Το πώς εμπιστεύεσαι κάτι πολύτιμο που είναι η ζωή του, Θεό. Αυτό εμένα με συγκίνησε προσωπικά.
one of the main spiritual lessons would be the ability to believe that you need to trust in God and have your whole life following that spiritual lesson, and also the often thanks to God and the physical exercise of having metania, of having that communication and faith aspiration towards God.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that with us. That's really beautiful. And for everyone in the audience, you know, everyone at LAGFF is such a supporter of Aris, and you know, we loved you in Apples, and you know, what a thrill that you're part of this film and you're part of the festival this year. So thank you so much for answering those questions, and I'm sure more will be coming your way. But in the meantime, we're going to pivot over to Christos to ask you similar questions. You know, how did you get identified for the role, and what made you want to be part of this film?
Hi. Well, I met with Helena, and she seemed like someone who really, really knows what she wants to say with that film. You could feel it, you could hear it, and you could smell it. So I knew that I wanted to be a part of this film right when I met her. So when I took the script, took my scenes, and I read them, and I said to myself, this is actually very, very good. So it was very easy for me to want to be a part of this film.
That's great. And how did you prepare for the role?
Well, I thought that my role was an example of the modern world. So as a contrast to Saint Nectarios. So I figured I might as well be angry and suspicious all the time. So that's what I wanted to. That's what I thought at the first time when I read the script. And of course, you know, my role is a part of. He's a man of the world. He's a scientist, and he's in education, and he believes that education is of top importance for when it comes to a people that has just come out of Ottoman oppression, and you know, and many people will tell you the same now. I really like the fact that he begins that way in the film, and then he realizes that it's not enough, and that the faith of Saint Nectarios has given him something, inner peace. Well, that's something that my role doesn't have, and something that most of us don't have. So I think my job was really, really easy compared to Aris' job to portray Saint Nectarios, because my job was to show how people, most of the people are now. You know, people living their lives and feeling that they know most of it, but with no magic.
It's that really beautiful juxtaposition that Elena has in storytelling with the contrast in those characters. Because on the one hand, we have that really quiet humility that, you know, Aris is portraying, and then you have the more sort of straightforward, you know, like you said, that sort of, you know, shelled and sheltered, you know, view of things. And so it's really interesting to see, you know, the two of you play off of each other, and those scenes in particular, all the scenes, but those scenes in particular are really magic in that way, because it is that, you know, juxtaposition told in the storytelling. So that's all very cool. What was it like for you? I mean, obviously you've shot in Greece before, but for this particular one, shooting on location and whatnot, what was that experience like for you?
Well, when we went to on location, you know, it was actually like being in a film. Like we were shooting a film, but I felt that we were being looked at. You know what I mean? It's like somebody was looking at us from above or from underneath. I don't know, but it was being part of an ongoing history that doesn't know boundaries of time and space and people. It's like we were telling and reliving the same story that had been played out 100 years ago. It was really fascinating to be on the spot. Sometimes, I wasn't in Egina, but where I was, it was almost as if we had traveled through time,
Yeah,
So it contributed to the magic.
that makes sense. And I guess along these lines, we should talk about the fact that how you so accurately captured this period in time, Yelena, and the cast, and everyone affiliated with this beautiful project. So for a question for any of you really is, how did you go about identifying, the crew and like the costumes and everything like that just sort of gathered together to make this feel so authentic? Maybe
I should just jump in on this one. Well, I was, again, very lucky that I had such a wonderful team. Our Greek producer, Kostas Lambropoulos, was there to introduce me to all these elements. And for example, these elements are crucial for this film, like costume design. Evan Athena, who is an amazing costume designer, has done an incredible job, as you can see watching this film, which is such an important aspect of this particular movie, of the way the film looked. And she was, from the beginning, it was her and the DP and myself that we were really talking about the look of the film. And she has done a great job. Then we had a fantastic set designer, art director, Spiros Laskaris, who had a lot of experience. And again, I was really fortunate to work with all of them. And this is, and everyone. What I think was the most amazing about this film, that everyone who was part of this wanted to be there from their heart. It wasn't only a job for them, and it was pretty obvious. And I think that's what helped everybody to kind of allow for this magic to come in, whether it was with acting or design, set design, or anything that was part of this film. Everybody was really doing it from their heart. And I think I'm very grateful for that, and that also gave me energy to do my job the best that I could. And that's so rare. I mean, anyone who works in film, that's rare to find such a collection of people who are all working from their heart, because it's such a business in that way. So I guess along these lines, we're getting several questions coming in from the audience, and a lot of them are related to just the production process. Was it difficult to find the funding for this process, for this particular project?
Elena, you want to answer that, or should I go?
I think you should answer that question.
You guys are making eyes at each other, so whoever wants to take it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like any anybody who's produced a film or who's put a film together knows how difficult it can be. And so it was a process. It was a long process, but we were fortunate enough to have people who believed in the film and who believed in the importance of making this film, and who took a leap of faith and supported this. Yeah.
Okay. And on top of everything, all the struggles to get the film off the ground and whatnot, another big question a lot of people want to know, because this shot, recently, is how did COVID-19 affect that process and add an additional hurdle to an already very difficult thing to do?
Yelena, you want to take that one, right?
Maybe I'll just say something about it. Yes, it was extremely challenging, apart from getting the film off the ground, which is very difficult, in general. Having this extra hurdle. But I think what it did, it helped us, I think all of us, this additional struggle to, as Aris was talking about when the way he approached his performance, that we had to go through some kind of struggle, extra struggle and a sacrifice in order to get on that level, on some level, to be more truthful to the story. And I think that this element has helped the movie and all of us to allow for this creativity to get on a little higher level and to be more truthful to the story that we were trying to tell.
That makes sense. Absolutely. And then can you talk a little bit about, once you found the funding, once you got through the hurdle of COVID or whatnot, shooting in Greece, Greece has just initiated this much larger rebate and incentive program and through ECOME and the Hellenic Film Commission and whatnot. So what was your experience like doing that? And did it feel like, were they supporting you as you were shooting in various locations?
Absolutely. What I would say is, they've ECOME, obviously we worked closely with ECOME, and it was also a big part of getting the film made because of the cash rebate that they're offering. It played a big role. So it's a process, obviously. But it's ECOME, the program of ECOME was launched, I believe, at the end of 2018, and they've really been working hard to make this a very attractive program internationally, really, to attract international productions. And I think they've been very successful at it. I mean, it's been they've made huge steps, and so yeah, we've had a very good experience with them.
That's really nice to hear. Yeah, it's amazing to see Greece coming on the forefront of filmmaking now. Like, just having so much more international film shoot there is really cool for all of us to see. So we have more questions pouring in from the audience. Let's see. This one is from Aspasia. She says, "Bravo, wonderful film. Will there be more online screenings around the world, and has a distributor been found?"
Thank you for the question. The film is set for theatrical release this upcoming August, on August 26th, in Greece and in Russia and the Balkans, and we're in talks with distributors around the world, including the US, for theatrical distribution. Obviously, because of the whole COVID situation, it's been a challenge for distributors in general, but basically that's our we're working towards a theatrical release initially around the world in different territories. And eventually, the film will come out as they normally do. Once they're out in theater, then they'll come out on different platforms, etc. But to answer your question about more screenings, online screenings, this was obviously something we did in the context of the Los Angeles Greek Film Festival, so it was in the context of a festival. So to answer your question, I don't know if there are going to be other virtual screenings. I don't think so. But I know the film will be at other festivals in the coming months as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
That probably suffices. So let's talk a minute about its festival run so far, and it's received so many accolades in the places that it's been. Whoever wants to take it, we'd love to hear about your experience at those festivals and the accolades that this particular film has achieved, and if you've been able to virtually participate and the actors and whatnot, and what that's been like for you.
Yelena, I think you should answer that.
Well, I was, they were very glad that basically we had a world premiere in Moscow at the Moscow International Film Festival. We felt that it was a good place for the film to start its journey. And it wasn't a virtual festival. They were able to have a regular screenings.
Oh, cool.
And it was we had a really good reception, and people seem to have liked the movie. And we end up winning the People's Choice Award, which to me it's very special. And now soon enough in Russia, like in Greece, they're gonna have it in the theaters, so they'll be able to view it. But that was the beginning of that kind of a journey. And we also, as Alexandros has mentioned, there are going to be some other festivals. They're going to be coming, and one of them is Phoenix, which is in Arizona, which is coming up in the middle of August. And I think it's not virtual as well. I think there's going to be in regular in-person screening. That's what I believe so far, because we don't know what happens. And that's again, it's with this film. I mean, we made this film for people to watch. I didn't think at the beginning. It never crossed my mind. Oh, should I make this film? Is it going to go to the festivals or not? I just wanted to make an honest movie, and it's really to share it with as many people as possible. So far, it's been a good experience.
That's terrific, and it's just beginning its journey. And again, we feel so privileged to be able to have screened it here and screen again tonight. It's totally sold out. The audience is very hungry for it. So hopefully this is all good things in terms of future distribution and whatnot. So again, we have many questions pouring in. Let's see what the next one here is. It's from Laura. And okay, so this is specific to the character of Saint Nectarios. She wants to know, where did the particular stories about Saint Nectarios come from, and how much was historical and how much was fiction? And I know you touched on this a little bit, but if you want to elaborate on that, we'd love to hear.
Well, because this is a saint that lived, he passed away in 1920, which wasn't that long ago. The things have been well documented about him. And everything that we showed in the movie is based on a true story. Obviously, I didn't. It was within the storytelling of what I was trying to portray, but I was actually very careful. I even used some of the real words that Aios Nectarios used, because he left some 136 letters written behind him, and this was very helpful to actually understand his character better and to try to get as close to the truth as possible of who he was and what mattered to him and how he felt about certain things. So this is what so we had a lot of I had a lot of place to go to where I could get accurate information. And obviously then you make it as a director, I make it personal, and I put myself in it. But that's where the research came from.
Okay, and we have another question that came in that's sort of along these lines. Why did the movie start with Saint Nectarios being a bishop already? What made you decide to not start the movie with a younger Saint Nectarios, leaving the audience curious about his younger life? What was behind that decision?
I've answered that question, I think, earlier, but I'll answer it again now because
if you don't mind.
It's because I was focusing on the specific on the suffering of Saint Nectarios and his life of love and forgiveness, and the way he dealt with his persecution and basically that premise that I talked about, which was something that I try to portray in each scene from the beginning till the end, is that the power is something that can destroy the best of us. And that was the main focus of the film. And that's why, because of that, it was not just a full-on biography. It was very specific to a certain part of his life that I felt it was the best portrayed that way. So we wouldn't just get lost in, in too many, how shall I say, curious answers, that I wanted to focus more on the emotion of the story. And so I try to keep it as tight as possible.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for elaborating on that. I know that you had already touched on that, but again, we have all these questions pouring through, and a lot of our audience members are on Greek time, so they come in a little bit later and miss sort of the earlier. So it's nice to be able to reiterate these questions and whatnot, and give our audience more of a semblance of what's going on. So with that, I'm being told we need to wrap it up because we're here at the end of our hour. Is there anyone who'd like to share anything else about the film? We can hear from the actors, from Yelena, from whomever. I'll give you that opportunity to say one or two last things before I close us out. Anything you'd like the audience to know that we didn't cover?
I think I've spoken the most, so if somebody else feels like all I want to say is to thank everybody, and our main producer, St. Nectarius, for helping us put this into reality.
Well,
Άρη, αν ήθελες να πεις κάτι για τον κόσμο.
Τι να πω. Εύχομαι η ταινία να μπορέσει να επικοινωνήσει και να κάνει το ταξίδι της και αυτό. Έτσι κι αλλιώς είναι ένας φόρος τιμής για έναν άνθρωπο που μέσα από τη ζωή του συνδέθηκε απόλυτα με το Θεό και για μένα τουλάχιστον είναι ένα παράδειγμα.
Well, I just hope that the film does its purpose and communicate the various meanings as it should. The whole picture is a voyage that honors that person, Saint Nectarius, and his voyage to God and proximity. So I hope it makes that possible. Thank you. Thank you, Ari.
Thank you so much, Ari. Again, you're a treasure in this project. I mean, you really have such a beautiful and remarkable performance, and so much of it is in that quiet humility that you bring to that character, which absolutely translates on screen to the audience. So we're very proud of you and very excited for this path. Alexandros, thank you so much for all of your hard work that went into this production so you could deliver it to audiences like us and our festival. Christos, again, it was such a pleasure speaking with you. Your part is so brilliantly acted and really amazing, and everyone is such a fan of yours, and we can't wait to see what things you guys have coming next. And of course, Yelena, thank you so much for sharing your brilliant work with us. We're so proud of you. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous film, you guys. Everyone in the audience needs to see this film. If you didn't see it last night and you have tickets for tonight, you are in for a huge surprise that is uplifting and wonderful. And so we're just so thrilled and proud. Thank you so much from the 15th Annual LA Greek Film Festival. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to kick it back to Laurel.
Thank you, Leah. And I would like to echo Leah on behalf of LAGFF. Thank you so much, Yelena, Aris, Christos, Alexandros, and Leah for being with us here today. Also, a special thank you to Mickey and Kariofilia, who are not able to join us today. And thank you to all our sponsors, and a special thank you to all of you here joining us today. And thank you for your support of Greeks in Entertainment. Before we log off, though, make sure you are registered for the other panels and Q&As we have scheduled for the next week. Our Festival Darlings panel, spotlighting new talents whose work has been screened globally to great acclaim, is on Tuesday, May 25th. Thursday, May 27th, we have our panel with the Greek Film Center discussing all the new and innovative incentives to filming in Greece, including that government's 40% off break. And on Saturday, May 29th, our highly anticipated live roundtable panel on how the need for diversity is changing the industry, a live dialogue between African Greeks and African Americans in the entertainment industry. You can find the complete schedule on lagff.org under events, and make sure you're following us on Instagram and on Facebook for the latest updates and surprise events. Until Tuesday, have a great weekend, and bye for now.